idea was that to put ice in the airport?
We're dealing really.
Whose idea was it?
Mine. That was mine.
Can I ask you,
That was like the paperclip. You know the story of the paperclip? 182 years ago, a man discovered the paperclip. It was so simple. And everybody that looked at it say, why didn't I think of that? Ice was my idea. First person I called was Tom Homan. I said, what do you think? He said, I think it's great.
What in the fresh hell is this buffoon babbling about? I mean, can we just take Grandpa's car keys at this point? Is that a thing? Can we please just put him in a home and be done with it? Like, the whole reason for the 25th Amendment is for situations like this, where the person who's in charge clearly should not be in charge anymore. And putting aside the fact that Trump has started an illegal war with Iran, which they're killing innocent civilians and bombing civilian infrastructure, and they also invaded Venezuela and did the same thing, and they're also planning on doing the same thing in Ecuador and Colombia, and I haven't had a chance to talk about that. They're doing an illegal siege in Cuba, in which they're blocking all of the oil from getting into the country, and they're having power outages, and there are babies in the hospitals that are on ventilators that they have to go in and manually pump to make sure that the kids don't die, and I haven't had a chance to talk about that. Putting aside all of the financial crimes that Trump has done, he's enriched himself billions of dollars in his second term through his crypto exchange, where 2/3 of the coins are held in foreign wallets, and through the Live Golf Tour, and through the towers that Saudi Arabia is going to build for him. All of this stuff. I could go on and on and on. Not to mention the fact that he's used the United States military and ICE to invade American cities against the will of the mayors and the governors of these cities and states. All of that aside, he has very clearly lost his mind. He's lost his mental faculties. He has dementia. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's saying. Well, if you think about it, a long time ago, somebody invented the paperclip, and everybody said, wow, it's so simple. Why didn't I think of that? And so I decided to put ice in the airports. And then I asked Tom Homan, and he said, sir, that's the greatest idea I've ever heard. Wow, nobody ever thought of it. Nobody ever thought of it because it's completely and utterly moronic. I mean, you're putting ICE, which is not trained at all to do aviation security, into airports to help with aviation security. I have a really, really easy fix for this. Pay TSA. That's the easiest solution. That's the no-duh position. But Trump doesn't want to do that because he wants to use their pain and your pain as a person trying to travel anywhere as his political bargaining chip to get the SAVE Act passed, as he says right here.
And I'm suggesting strongly to the Republican Party, don't make any deal on anything. The most important thing we can have is what's called the Save America Act. Don't make any deal on anything unless you include voter ID, and you have to be a citizen to vote. You have to show citizenship to vote. Very easy to do. It's very insulting when they say people can't do it because they don't know how to do it. Anybody that can't do it, I think it's a very insulting thing to say. The Democrats are fully to blame with the struggle the great American public is going through at the airports. They're going through a big struggle right now, and we just put ICE in charge, and they're helping TSA, the agents, and they're working together so far very well.
Guys, the SAVE Act is a voter suppression bill. That's all it is. It requires people to have either a passport or a birth certificate to prove that they're a United States citizen. Here's the problem with it. Millions of people change their name because they get married or whatever happens. And so if you have a name that doesn't match your birth certificate, then you have to go through this whole rigmarole to prove that you are who you say you are. Also, over 50% of Americans do not have a passport. A passport costs $186 to purchase, and it takes about a month to a month and a half to get to you. Now, in Trump's America, where gas prices are now on average over $4 a gallon, people are not thinking about, man, I really need to save money so that I can get a passport so that I can make sure I vote in the November midterms. They're rationing money to make sure that they have enough money to pay for gas to get to their miserable job that doesn't pay them enough. That's what's happening. But this is a solution in search of a problem because, as I covered in the last video, voter fraud in the United States accounts for less than 0.5% of all votes. It's so low. And as I said, I looked this up on the Heritage Foundation, which is a right-wing think tank. It's run by Republicans. And they said at maximum, they could not come up with more than 138 cases of fraud in any one given state in the entire country. And most states have millions of people voting. So this whole, we got to make sure you're a U.S. citizen, it's bullshit. They don't want to do that. They want to suppress the vote because Republicans understand, and they've studied this for a long time, if voter turnout is low, then the Republicans tend to do better in elections. If voter turnout is high, then the Democrats tend to do better in elections. So this is not about making the elections more secure and making sure there isn't like a bunch of fraud. This is about suppressing turnout. The SAVE Act might as well be called Stop Americans from Voting in Elections, because that's what it's going to do. It's another hurdle. It's another loophole that you have to jump through. And again, most people in the United States right now, like 2/3 of all Americans, are living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have the money to go out and buy a passport so that they can make sure that they vote. This is the equivalent of a poll tax. This is the equivalent of if you don't have the money in order to purchase the proper ID to prove that you are who you say you are, then you don't get the right to vote. If they really cared about people having the correct ID and making sure they're Americans, here's what would happen. They would issue every single American a automatic voter registration at age 18, and if you need a specific ID, the government would issue it to you so that you could take it to the polling place. That's what would happen, but that's not what they want to do. They want to pretend like this is about voter fraud and then, pass this bullshit bill where they make it way harder for people to vote. On top of all of that, putting ICE in the airports, aside from being colossally stupid, is not about airport security. This is a test run so that they can see what it would be like to put ICE at polling stations. And I've been saying this for a while, but you no longer have to take my word for it. Listen to Steve Bannon straight from the horse's mouth saying this is the plan.
We can use what's happening with these ICE helping out at the airports. We can use this as a test run, as a test case to really perfect ICE's involvement in the 2026 midterm election, sir?
Yeah, I think we should have ICE agents at the polling places, because if you're an illegal alien, you can't vote, right? It's against the law. It's a federal crime for you to vote in federal elections. And so if you're an American citizen, you should be happy that ICE is there, because you're not going to have illegal aliens canceling out your vote.
Guys, he's saying it. They're saying the quiet part out loud. They're not even hiding the ball. We want to use this as a test case to see if we can put ICE in polling stations as well. They're trying to get you used to the idea of having ICE as a part of your regular, ordinary, everyday life when they should not be. Their job is to do border patrol. It's immigration and customs enforcement. They're not supposed to be at polling stations. That's ridiculous. But with this, putting ICE in the airports is, again, this is typical Trump. This is typical Republicans. You create a crisis and then present the solution to the crisis that never would have existed except for the fact that Republicans created the crisis. We don't have an issue with travel at the airports if you actually fund TSA. You give them the money and then it's no longer an issue. This is the equivalent of starting a fire and then saying, hey, listen, I put out the fire. I doused it in gasoline. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And by that same right, they don't have an issue with voter fraud in the United States, but by God, they want to pass this voter suppression bill because the Republicans do not have anything to run on. What do they have to run on? Hey, vote for us again. We cut your health care, and we spiked gas prices, and inflation went up, and we did a bunch of tariffs, and we had ICE, and we had the National Guard invade American cities, and we started a bunch of illegal wars. We did absolutely nothing for you, the American people. We haven't added any jobs, basically. Vote for us. Like, they don't have anything to run on. That's why they have to do this. If they don't cheat, they literally have no chance. Like, all of the polls are saying this. Like, Democrats are up double digits in most places. So they know this. And their only response to this is we got to cheat. I don't know. Also, on the note of the government being shut down in this whole fight, the Republicans themselves are pissed at Trump. I mean, they had a deal to reopen the government where they could do anything they wanted with ICE, and Trump rejected it, as John Kennedy is about to explain here. Take a look.
Senator Cruz and I came up with a plan. We said, look, it's a two-step process. The Democrats have offered to open up everything but ICE. Ted and I said, okay, let's accept their offer. And then at the same time, we would offer a bill for reconciliation where we don't need any Democratic votes to do whatever we wanted to do with ICE. And that way we're out of the shutdown and DHS is back open. We submitted that, Senator Cthulhu submitted that to President Trump, as is his right. He said no deals with the Democrats. It would have worked. We could have had TSA paid by the end of the week.
We could have had them paid by the end of the week, but Trump said no. And again, he would rather use their pain and your pain at the airport in order to get his political agenda accomplished. He does not care about you. He does not care about TSA going unpaid for over a month. If he did, they would end this ridiculous fight and they would pay TSA and they would figure out the ICE payment later. But no, what he wants to do is use this as a political cudgel to try and exploit as much as he can from the Democrats. And what's so ridiculous is that the Democrats apparently agreed with Republicans and said, yeah, sure, we'll let you do anything with ICE. Just please open the government. Guys, I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. This is an election year. They are going to do everything in their power to try and rig it in their favor, but we cannot let that happen. Make sure that you are fully prepared for whatever happens and make sure that you have a plan to go vote. And make sure that these people do not take power again, because it's so clearly obvious that they cannot govern their way out of a wet paper bag. And they've given you literally absolutely nothing. And if you can point to one thing that Republicans have done that you would say, yeah, absolutely, that's positive. Deporting a bunch of innocent people illegally against court orders. I really like that. And that makes your life better. I mean, you know, whatever, go for it. But, this is the country that we live in. We live in a fascist dictatorship where Trump's paramilitary are literally planning to invade polling stations. They're invading airports now. It wasn't enough for them to invade cities and harass people and yank them out of their car at the gas station or whatever. Now they want to be a part of your everyday life. Also, that Trump can make sure that the voter suppression bill that he desperately needs in order to maintain power in 2026 gets through Congress. Guys, if you made it this far, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're not already subbed, click the bell as well. That way YouTube will hopefully notify you the next time I drop a video. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.